Welcome back, everyone. So I was preparing videos about list building, including a detailed video about my list building for the gunners that you actually saw in one of the battle reports we've made. Um, but I kind of I was waiting. I had a bit of an issue with the gunners box that I received because one of the gunners actually had a missing elbow. The elbow is supposed to be stuck on the I can't remember if it's a combat rifle or a combat shotgun. But anyway, the elbow was had dropped off the gun, and I couldn't finish assembling the gunner, and I wanted to have the finished gunners completely assembled and primed at least before I made a video. Um, and I was just waiting for the new gunner. So just a bit of a hint or a tip: if you have an issue with one of your Modifius model, all you have to do is go to the modifius.net website in the UK. I'm not sure I'm not sure. I think the website is different in the US. If you go to their website for your region, there is a support section, and you can actually, if you have proof of purchase, you can request a replacement model for the model that had a problem. So in this case, I sent them a support form, and they posted the model to me. Now they've been they were maybe a little bit slow to respond. It says 48 hours, I think, on the website. It did take a little bit longer than that, but they were absolutely great in their customer service, and they told me immediately that they would send the replacement parts, and they said that it would probably take a little bit longer because they post them in batches. So I did receive the model, just a figure, not the base, but that's okay because obviously I had the base already, so I'll just replace the model with a missing elbow with the one that's fully equipped. And I'll finally be able to finish my gunner video. Now, while that was happening, two very important things have been issued by Modifius, clearly supporting the game very well. The game has clearly not been abandoned. So two things happened. Just before Halloween, Modifius issued the Spooktober rules supplement for Fallout factions. That has got some pretty incredible things, including 3 players games, and those 3 player games involve 2 factions and what they call I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically it's 2 factions and one of the largest monsters you could find in the Fallout universe. Oh, Goliath, that's it, that's what they call them. So you've got two of your normal factions, and then a third player plays as a Goliath. So it can be, well, we'll go through the Spooktober rules, so you'll see that later. And then on Thursday, 28th of November, I think, um, they've issued this that you can see on the screen right now, the companion supplement, and that is completely changing everything I talked about list building. Well, maybe not completely everything, but it's a massive change because now basically any faction can have pretty much any companion, and the companions can change the way your faction plays. So even if typically, for example, you were the operators and you were a long-range shooting faction, pretty much, now you can have some incredibly strong melee units, incredibly tanky melee units. Obviously, that's going to come at the cost of you'll have to remove a lot of your models because those new units are going to cost you money. But let's go and look at what this looks like. So this is this companion supplement is available for free on the Modifius website. Just go and look for it. It's a bit like the supplements they've issued for Fallout Western Warfare slash Fallout Faction. You can actually find them in the store on the website. You just have to look for PDFs, and they're available for free. So no cost, obviously. That's what free means. Words have meaning. So that's just a blurb. That's telling you that the way you get those companions is basically it's a free perk. Well, free. We'll go into that later. It's a free perk that you can get to your champions when you recruit them. So if you've got an existing crew, you technically can't really add that to your existing crew. You would have to recruit a new champion to benefit from that. Obviously, if you create a new crew, you can include that right from the start. Also, they're asking you to have a little bit of decency, and if you're going to play a match against someone, warn them that you're going to apply the companion supplement, because if they haven't read about that, it might be a little bit of a surprise to them when you start fielding weird stuff in your faction. So yeah, let's try to have some common decency and talk to people we're playing with, because you know it's a game. So let's try to have fun. So the new perk type effectively allows you to choose either creatures or robots as companions. And obviously you've got the two different perks: Roboteer if you want a robot companion, or Creature Tamer if you want a creature companion. Yeah, so obviously that's it. Not much more to say than that. I'm not too sure why the Creature Tamer has got champion class as well, because anyway you can only recruit that with your champions. And the robots, it's your typical robots, and that makes me all tingly inside, because I had a lot of robots from Westland Warfare. So I can, well, I don't have iBots or Securitrons, but I can definitely field any of the Mr. Handy or the Protectrons. So for robots, you've got Mr. Handys with different choices of weapons, Protectrons with different choices of weapons. So they're not going to be exactly what you see is what you get, but close enough. And again, you need to be clear with your opponent slash fellow gamer. You need to be clear about what they're carrying. Shouldn't be too hard to explain that anyway. Especially if you have a Protectron and you use a Police Protectron. If you bought the box, you've probably painted it as a Police Protectron anyway, so you should be able to clearly identify what Protectron you have. For Mr. Handy, yeah, that might be a little bit harder to explain, but anyway, it's typically your melee weapons, which any of them will look and do the same. And then you've got a choice between laser and flamer. So again, if you've had the Mr. Handy box and you've used the appendages that were in the box, you should be able to choose the right one. My Mr. Handy is always going to be anyway a Miss Nanny, because the raiders want to field a Miss Nanny and call her nurse. And they can scream nurse whenever they got a problem. Anyway. iBots have got some fairly interesting perks, so they might change the way you play a little bit. And obviously the Securitrons, yeah, they're going to be fairly strong. Going back to that page, one thing you will note is there's a cost with the weapons sets. So the way it works is when you choose your new champion with the perk, you have to add the cost of the companion they're taking to the value of that champion. So instead of being, for example, 36 caps, a champion that would have a Mr. Handy standard unit would be 36 caps plus 52 caps, because if you look at this page, the standard unit weapon set for the Mr. Handy is various appendages and the robot lasers, and that comes at 52 caps. So that would increase the value of the champion by those 52 caps. So you can see that they don't come cheap. They've got quite a lot of perks, which is interesting, and the perks might vary depending on what weapon set you're using. So again, that gives you a variety of choice, which is very interesting, and that's going to make list building very complicated, but also very wacky and very flavorful in a way that only the Fallout universe can create, really. So, yep, Securitrons, incredibly expensive if you go for the Mark II, but also quite powerful. So you've also got the robots from Nuka World, which might be again very flavorful if you're playing in Nuka World. You can make a good narrative that your champion has found a robot in Nuka World. They're not the most expensive of robots. Again, different loadouts. And you've got on this page you've got a list of all the weapons you can find for all the robots. So yeah, it's your typical Fallout faction supplement. Information is presented quite nicely. And then you've got the creatures. Creatures, well, there's a range of creatures. You've got, very interesting again, you've got things like Brahmins. And the weapons they have, all the creatures, they're very different. So if you felt like you needed something specific in your faction that you didn't have, then this companion supplement probably helps you to fill that void. I feel like there might be a risk that people go down rabbit holes and end up with factions that don't really work that well, but yeah, I suppose we'll have to see. Bloodflies, lovely. I mean, imagine explaining the fact that your faction suddenly has got access to bloodflies. Maybe you raise bloodflies from larvae and now they're following you. Bloodbugs, a little bit of the same. Your companion Deathclaw, so yeah, if you've got the domesticated Deathclaw from the Enclave, then that would be about perfect. Also, if you're a range faction and you add this Deathclaw to your faction, that changes a little bit the way you play. You can add lots of dogs if you want with the mongrels, because yeah, so that's something we need to talk about with the bloodflies, the bloodbugs, and the mongrels, and the rat stag doors actually. They have the swarm perk, which means that you can actually take up to 3 of them per champion. So if your champion has the creature tamer perk, then you could add 3 of these creatures. Actually, you can also do the same with iBots. iBots have got the swarm keyword, I believe. Let's go and check. Oh no, sorry, apologies. The iBot does not have the swarm keyword. So that's going to be specific to the creatures. Okay, there you go. We're learning as we read. Yeah, so you could have 3 bloodflies, 3 bloodbugs. Obviously, that instead of paying 10, if you've got 3, you pay 30. And if you've got 2, you could choose to have 2 only, then it's 20. You obviously have to increase the value of your champion based on the number of these creatures that you take. Yeah, so we're not going to describe all the perks because that would take a while, but a lot of those creatures have got very interesting perks or very interesting weapons. The Yagwai, yeah, the Yagwai is very frightening. It's also very expensive at 70 caps. It's a bit like the Deathclaw. Yeah, and that's again the table of weapons you get from the creatures. As usual, you've got a little summary of the critical effects, the perks, and the traits. Some interesting ones like Tranquilize. And yes, the iBots has got some interesting perks about being able to be shot or being able to effectively not be shot, because the iBot is always considered to be wide open, but it also can't be shot if there's another model closer to the enemy. So that's going to be, I'm not sure how that's going to play in practice, but that feels like an interesting interaction. And there's for the, I think it's the one of the protectrons, there is the non-lethal trait for the weapon, which means that it can't actually inflict an injury either through damage or excess harm. So I'm not sure how that's gonna play again, but that feels like it's interesting. And that is it for the companion supplement. So that's very interesting because that completely changes the way you play your crews, really. Like I said, if you're the operators and two of your champions take the creature tamer perk and you take two Yaoguais, well, you're not really playing like the operators anymore. You're playing like a melee faction with two key melee models supported by fairly good range models. And that's obviously not the same as the way that we're playing now. So I'm not too sure how you're going to prepare to play against someone unless you know exactly what's on their list. Because when you say, "Oh, I'm going to play against the operators," so I know they're going to be mostly range faction. I'm gonna try to stay to cover or play like that. Well, not anymore, because they might be a range faction, but they now have access to incredibly tanky models like everybody else. Now, obviously, the robots and the creatures, they're not going to progress like your characters, so they're not going to gain perks because they are already attached to a champion. So they're not going to be able to progress, to improve their weapons or anything like that. The weapons can't be modified. They're not going to gain perks, so they might their importance might diminish as you go, as your crew progresses, and your opposing crews are progressing as well. But it still feels like it's a. I mean, I'm super excited to see what can be done with that. Obviously, all the list videos I made before now, well, they're still valid, but yeah, if you add those creatures and those robots, it changes many things, and you might want to tune the way the lists work and add some of those because they might plug the gaps you felt you had in your teams. So for example, as the pack, I felt like everything was middle of the range and I couldn't really get a model that had a big impact on the board. Well, now if I add a Yaoguai to that, a pet Yaoguai or a pet Deathclaw, and I might call one of them Bitey and the other one Pinchy, then yeah, that's it. I've got models that make a big difference. And if they get killed during the match, well, it doesn't matter because those creatures and those robots, they don't have to go through the treat the wounded phase. They're automatically back on the board at the next game. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it feels like it changes the way the game plays. I'm super excited about it. I'm definitely not sad. I think this is a great progression. Again, it's a great way of using models you might have bought for Fallout Western Warfare. So yeah, very excited to see how that plays. And in the next video, we'll talk about the Spooktober rules, And you'll see that those as well change the way the game plays, specifically with the three-player games. But there's also a few changes to some of the factions. So yeah, we'll go through that in the next video. All right, well, thank you very much for watching. It's great to see the way the game is progressing. It's great to see the way that the game is supported by Modifius. That they've not just abandoned it into the world and let it go its way. They are supporting it. Also, go to the Modifius Discord. There's a good community there, and yeah, looking forward to playing with those rules. All right, see you in the next one.